What is up, you guys? This is All Day 1 on the PS4, and I'm going to be giving you or showing you an overview of every character that costs 500 Eternity Splinters. So you can also go ahead and look down into the description if you're trying to find a specific character, specific hero or whatever through the video, so that way you don't have to watch through all of it, but preferably, hopefully you guys do watch all of it so you can see each character. And yeah, that's basically it. So go ahead and enjoy, and yeah. The first one up is Antman. So Antman is a decent hero with fairly good attacks as well as damage over time and summons, which do all pretty good damage. What Antman lacks in though is he lacks in consistency. His resource consumption is just terrible, one of the worst in the game in my opinion. Unless you have at least 500 plus resources, then you can kind of keep yourself balanced. Antman also has some abilities that uses 100% of your resources but still do very little damage, so that's something that I think needs to be reworked. Other than his resource consumption issue, Antman is a subpar character, but he does have a pretty nice synergy that'll help any character that uses the strength attribute. Next up is Beast. So Beast has about 2 different builds that you can go with. He has the gadgets and a momentum build. So gadgets being, you know, the stuff that you drop out that'll kind of help you out with your damage, and then momentum will be the stuff that's going to be your mobility, your mobile attacks and whatnot. Beast, he also has talents where he can practically spam his gadgets or really any of his abilities from using his gadgets, because his gadgets will reduce the cooldown of his other abilities and his other abilities will reduce the cooldown of his gadgets, so one helps off the other. And the next thing, Beast, he also has a fairly strong damage output and he has pretty high survivability as well. So, you know, Beast, he pretty much fits his name, so he's a really good pick. So Black Panther is the next one on this list. Black Panther has the same issue as Antman, where he uses up a lot of resources, although he doesn't nearly use as much resources as Antman, but he has no way of regaining his resource back, except from having a catalyst that can give you your resource back off medkit use, or having gear that gives you resource back per kill. Black Panther's damage can also be pretty underwhelming at first, but once you figure out how to sustain your resource and whatnot and have decent gear, decent stats, and a good build, or build that works for you, then you'll start noticing the damage output that he can put out. So up next is Blade. Blade is by far one of the best boss killers and one of the best single target damage dealers in the game, at least in my opinion he is, and to many others. Both ultimate and signature can hit incredibly hard, probably one of the strongest signatures in the game. Blade also does have a serum mechanic which will hurt him over time by draining his health whenever you get that wipe bar full, but you're able to wipe his hunger off when you use your serum, and when you use your serum you'll get a damage bonus, which is when you would want to use your signature, so then that way you can dish out pretty much one shot a boss. So Captain America is next on this list. Cap is a great support character, great tank, and he can also dish out some pretty heavy damage as well. Captain America also has somewhat of a combo system, which is called serum. When you build up your serum, some of your abilities will use the serum and instantly have the cooldown reduced. Cap can also be either a fun or pain to play type of character. He is a character that needs to be played with the right build to be really effective in farming. So up next is Colossus. So with Colossus, he can also be a very great tank just like Captain America, but he can also play as a summoner or a straight brawler. A great perk for Colossus is the more health he has, the more damage he can dish out, The downside for him though is he's a very, very, very slow fighter. Although I didn't really enjoy leveling him up, he does have a pretty fun level 60 build, and he definitely has the potential of being a heavy hitter character. So next we have Cyclops. Cyclops is a pretty stationary character, which does make his trials a bit difficult, but his beams can hit really hard, especially with his ricochets. Cyclops is a great character against both single target enemies and trash mobs, making him a pretty well-rounded damage dealer in general. Not only is Cyclops good for solo play, but he's also great for group content. What I mean for that is he's great for support or even damage. With his support, he can pretty much buff his whole team up with high amounts of damage. The next character is Gambit. So Gambit is a pretty versatile character. He can be ranged or melee, both being just as effective as the other. Gambit isn't the strongest character on the whole character rosters, the sheets, but he does have great mobility, which does add on to his survivability. The more you can move around, the easier it is to not get hit by enemies. Leveling Gambit up wasn't too bad either. It was a fairly somewhat of a fun ride, I guess, leveling up from 1 to 60. But once you get his builds right and stats are in a good spot, you can be sure you'll have a great time playing him. So last but not least, we have Iceman. So Iceman is by far one of the most versatile characters in the game. He can summon, he can go melee, range, he can freeze, and he can shatter, and he has a few other nice tricks up his alley. Iceman's shatter is energy based, so keep that in mind if you ever decide to use his shatters a lot. Iceman is by far one of the easiest characters to play from the start to the finish, and is also an incredibly fun character to play as well. If this video helped you out at all, go ahead and leave a like, a comment, and go ahead and subscribe. If you have any questions or suggestions, go ahead and let me know down in the comment section as well. If you're still a little unsure of who to pick, and you can always go ahead and ask in the comment section. I can try to give you more of an insight on which characters you're interested in, or someone else probably can. So that's basically it. This is All Day Any Day 1 on the PS4. Have a good day, good night, and peace.